Hi, my name is Jeannie, and this is Dreams to Reality, a podcast. And if you are watching this on YouTube, or if you are watching this particular video in any of my courses, um, anyway, please know that I have a podcast, Dreams to Reality. I have a YouTube under Jeannie Hermoso, and I have a TikTok, Mystic Jeannie 88. So I'm just trying to spread, you know, the word out there. So the topic for today is about the law of attraction demystified and putting it all together so that it makes sense. So just a brief introduction. I started with learning about the law of attraction, like many probably have, with after watching The Secret, which is a documentary about like how the world works or how the universe works, and it really like started me on that journey. And but the thing about that documentary, it was just the basic of how the law of attraction works. It just teaches you like the super basic concepts, like you what you think of, it turns into reality. But there wasn't really much explanation on how exactly do you do it, and also no explanation of why does it work. And so I'm going to do a short presentation here, and I will also provide a free ebook after this mini course, and you can like download it after. It's going to be, if you're watching this on my YouTube or listening to this on my podcast, it's going to be in the show notes. It's going to be a link on the show notes. And so I will be sharing my screen briefly. So yeah, the thing about like the law of attraction is that it's very woo-woo. It's like, yeah, think about what do you desire and it will manifest. Like, that is very simplistic explanation of it. And also, it doesn't tell the whole picture. It doesn't tell us, what we need to do, how do we do it exactly, and why exactly does that work. And I will attempt to do that in this short video because I know a lot of people have tried to explain it, but this one is like a more like, it brings everything together, the concepts together that actually make sense, and will explain like, this is why um you need to be consciously intending your life. And so I'm gonna begin the presentation now. Let's see, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, there you go. Share the screen. Okay, there you go. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, so I'm just going to, okay. So what we're going to do is we will start with the saying or a quote by Alfred North Whitehead. I was looking at this one on the internet, and it says, our minds are finite, and yet even in these circumstances, or finite, our minds are finite, and yet even in the circumstances of finitude, we are surrounded by possibilities that are infinite. And the purpose of life is to grasp as much as we can out of that infinitude. So that's very deep. Yeah, as human beings, our conscious mind, is pretty limited in its understanding, and that's part of the spiritual journey, even with our limitation as this finite or finite human being, that we somehow, our physical bodies eventually decay, and we get recycled or switch to another, whatever our next incarnation will be. Whether you believe that or not, science has actually proven that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So we will, in some form, after physical body decays, we will, in some form, turn into something else. And yeah, but we're not going to talk about that. That's like a whole different discussion. So I was just inspired by, so I was taking a course by Miriam. Let me see. Miriam Castilla. And the way she put it together.
Measurable, attainable, realistic.
Sorry about that. So yeah, I was listening to her course and stuff. I was just really, really amazed at how she put it all together in a way that was, what do you call that? Sorry. In a way that was very simple, but profound. And at the same time, like the way she just presented the information, it made it more digestible, it made it more understandable, it made it more relatable. So we often hear it, and I was just listening to Bob Proctor as well, his take on the law of attraction. They always say that the law of attraction works all the time. It's like gravity, and our picture of the law of attraction is always like, this is us, and then we're like a magnet, we're attracting love, money, house, everything, career. And they always say you attract who you are being. So in a way, this is really correct. We attract who we are being. But for me, the law of attraction, for me, the term law of attraction is actually very misleading, because it says that there's something outside of ourselves that we need to attract into our life. But actually, it's the other way around. So I'd like to call it sort of like maybe the law of projection, because we are more projecting rather than attracting. And I will show you why exactly later. Okay. So we are, just a brief introduction. So we are physical beings, but if you really look at our bodies under a microscope, or even just really delve into it, we are made of energy. Everything, our cells, we are made of the particles that make up the human body. It's all energy. Everything outside of ourselves is energy, but we are sort of like a denser form of energy, and that's why we have a body. So if you can measure like the way we're vibrating, we're more denser. So we are energy, and we are connected, or we are, I'd like to call it, swimming in a field of infinite possibilities. So the scientists have determined that 99.9% of us, like in the particles, and part of who we are is space. But if you think about it, that space, instead of not doing anything, it's actually like in everything. It's like a soupy mixture that we are part of, and that space that we call space is actually the field of infinite possibilities. It's not necessarily not doing anything, it's doing everything. Like, it's in constant flux, it's in constant motion, and we are surrounded by it as energetic beings. So quantum physics is the science of probability, and I'm going to be this is my best representation of it. This is the way I can represent it that makes sense to me as a human being. Is that this is us. We are the intelligent consciousness, right? And this is our reality, external reality. What we think is out there is actually the field of infinite possibilities, where anything literally is possible. But then, because we have filters in place, we only see what we think is our possible, but literally anything is possible. And with these filters, which these filters are, and I'm representing it as something outside of ourselves, but it's actually within us. But it's sort of like a filter of how we view the world. And most of the time it's unconscious, unless of course you meditate and you're a really unaware person. But most of the time these filters are our perception, beliefs, experiences, feelings, self-concept, assumptions. The way we view the world is actually what we call that. It is unconscious. So we are unconsciously always projecting who we are being, how we view the world. We are always projecting it outside of ourselves. And so therefore we are looking in. One of my mentors, like one of my teachers, actually an eternal student. I love to learn, and I'm always taking courses, always wanting to really understand how the world works, you know. And one of my teachers, he said that, we anything is possible, what else is possible. But he said we look through that peephole, like that's our filter, and then that's all we can see outside of ourselves. Like, okay, this is the only thing that's possible, and this is this, this thing right here in my external reality, this is the only thing that's possible. But then what really, what you call that, in reality, is the universe. Anything is possible, and we know that because, like, we've read about people that have accomplished the impossible. If you can remember, I think it was in the 1920s or 1940s. I think it was in the 1940s. They say that running like a mile in 4 minutes was impossible, but then one guy did it, and after that everybody started doing it, and now even like high school kids can do it. But before that guy achieved it, it was literally the impossible. And another example is the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright. I was there in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. So they were bicycle makers, and they had a dream, like, we're going to fly, we're going to create a flying machine. And at that time, people were saying, like, that's not possible, because at that time in the early 1900s, people were looking through that peephole, and they didn't think that like anything was possible. But these two brothers, they said to themselves, like, you know what, anything is possible. I want to create a machine that flies. And they did. And they used like bicycle parts and like wings, and I think they flew for I was in that runway actually like a few years ago. The actual runway that they flew over, I think it was 75 feet, just like really, really short distance. But that they created what was the impossible into possible. So because they had like a different filter, but most of the time we are unconsciously, everybody has some unconscious filters of how they view the world. And instead of the world being like anything is possible, we view it through like limited filters and lenses in place. So, and I'm going to also mention what Miriam Castilla said in her course. She said that the universe needs an intelligent observer. So we are that intelligent observer in order to create possibilities. And the thing which I like, which she mentioned, was quantum entanglement, because I know about quantum entanglement, but I'm like, how does that relate to me? Like, how does quantum entanglement relate to me? So she said that the universe knows what you want because you thought of it once. Mind is powerful. It creates reality. Once you have entangled with an idea, it is linked with you. Thoughts have mass. Your thoughts have mass. Direct thoughts communicate to quantum field of infinite potentiality, and you direct those thoughts. You are the creator of your life. You have to match what you desire in terms of vibration and frequency. So basically, I looked it up, like, what is quantum entanglement? It is a bizarre, counterintuitive phenomena that explains how two subatomic particles can be intimately linked to each other, even if separated by billions of light years of space. Despite their vast separation, a change induced in one will affect the other. So this is from quantum entanglement space.com explanation. So basically what it means is that we are, if you can recall what I said earlier, we are, entangled in that soupy mix of what we call a space, but it's actually the field of infinite possibilities, which is, the makeup of 99.9% of what we call as reality. It's actually the field of infinite possibilities, and we're entangled with it. So when we set an intention, let's see. When we set an intention, we as the intelligent observer, the awareness, the consciousness, when we set an intention to this field or to this matrix of what we call reality, we actually change it. And then I'll explain why or how we change it later. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So basically she mentioned, and I have written about this in my book, Dreams to Reality. You can check it out. It's on Amazon. Dreams to Reality, Jeannie Hermoso. I wrote briefly about like the cosmic kitchen, but Miriam Castillo also mentioned this as well. I read about the cosmic kitchen concept from one of the writers. I forgot her name, but it was in the Field of Possibilities book, I think. And I was like reading that, and I love the concept of the cosmic kitchen. Basically, this is the universe. We are surrounded by the field of potentiality, and think of it as, a waiter. So it's basically just waiting for us. It's saying like, okay, what do you want? What do you want to order? It's I think in the movie The Secret, it's called the genie, right? Um, Coincidentally, I'm also genie, and maybe that's why I'm teaching this. I'm teaching you how the world works, because I'm the genie that I will help you get what you want, but I'm not gonna like do everything for you. I'm that type of empowering genie. I'm not the that type of genie. But anyway, yeah, so let's say that the universe is, or the field of infinite potentiality, or the universe, or whatever we call as external reality, saying like, okay, what is it that you want to project into your external reality? And we order like a waiter. So our job literally is to make that order. Our job is not to go into the kitchen and like make stuff, our job is not to understand like how exactly the world works, or how the universe works, or micromanage. I think she mentioned, Miss Castillo mentioned the word micromanage. We're not going to micromanage how the universe works. We're just going to set our intention. We're going to order. We're just going to be clear and specific. And the field of infinite potentiality is through its like mysterious how it works. They call it divine timing. It works like in its certain time frame. So it's not for us to ask why, like it's just like that. It's just how that world works, or the external reality, the universe works. So basically our job is to just be clear on our intention and make that order. And just like ordering in our actual kitchen, like, so the cosmic kitchen is, you have to be specific and clear that that really is what you want, and don't keep on like, pushing different types of orders. Like, let's say you're ordering from an actual restaurant, right? And you're saying like, oh, I want salmon, but then after a few seconds, no, actually I want chicken. Oh no, I don't want chicken. I want beef. And then what happens is that your intention is not clear. So the universe is like, whatever, I'm not going to give you what you want, because you're just not making a good intention. So these are the subatomic particles. So basically, the field of infinite possibilities, when you are not choosing a possibility, or you're just neutral, the quantum particles go back to potentiality. So I'm going to explain that later as well. So we have what we call the quantum particle duality. So basically, the quantum particles are the building blocks of here. Quantum particles are the smallest physical particles that can exist without broken down. So basically, they're the building blocks of the universe, and they act like a wave or particles. So basically, they discovered through an experiment that quantum particles, which is the building blocks of our universe, when no one is actually observing, it turns into a wave, meaning like it's just undefined, right? It's undefined. It's like a wave. But when someone's actually observing, it turns into a particle. So from an undefined wave, it turns into a particle. And so, therefore, that's how the field of infinite possibilities work. When you are not choosing, when you are not like intending, it's just a wave. Like it's okay, I'm just in a state of flux. I'm like in a state of possibility, but I'm not broken down into like a actual possibility yet. Um, so I'm going to use the analogy that she mentioned as well, that I've often heard and read about. And this is actually in Michael Lozier's book as well. Check that out, Law of Attraction. So in that book as well, Michael Lozier explained that you actually tune into the reality you desire, like a radio station. So because the infinite field of possibilities, anything is possible because it is the field of potentiality. So your job really is to tune into the reality you desire by, let's say, there's radio stations already, they exist, but it's your job to tune in and listen to that particular radio station. We can also I'd like to use, because like I don't use a radio anymore anyway. So, but I do have cable or Netflix, and I'd like to use this analogy more because it makes more sense for me rather than the radio, because no one listens to the radio anymore. But it's like literally all channels are available, all shows are available. Your job is to, using your clicker, your job is to choose which channel you'd like to watch, which show you'd like to watch. See, I like that analogy more. It makes more sense to me. But that radio station thing, yeah, it does also work for some people. And okay, so I'm gonna go back to here. There you go. So since anything literally is possible, the field of infinite potentiality, where anything is possible, is just waiting for us to choose, to set an intention. What is it that you want to make possible, And our job really is not to change the external reality, because that's already a projection. It's already projected. It's all in the past. It's already created. It's already done. Therefore, we don't really change the external reality if or try to fix it if we don't like the reality we created right now. We don't fix it. What we do is we choose. We make another choice. We choose. We intend. And therefore, who or what we really need to work on is ourselves. Okay, if that makes sense to you guys. Anyway, here you go. And why do we need to work on ourselves, essentially? Because remember the law of attraction, or law of projection, I'd like to really call it the law of projection. Who we are being, our beliefs, and a lot of them are unconscious, is actually the one influencing the external reality. So instead of turning out there, it's like, okay, what do I need to change within myself so that I create a better external picture or reality? So basically what you do is you work on your subconscious mind. or your superconscious. I do superconscious recode. It works basically the same. They work hand in hand, but different means, different ways. But I'll do another video on that one. Anyway, what you do is you work with your subconscious mind. You mentally rehearse what you want to direct your neurons or your mind to do. So, okay. So I'm going to change this one. Subconscious thinks, the mind thinks it is happening now. So you're going to rewire your brain. So basically your subconscious mind is whatever you program into it, it's just going to automatically project it externally. So what you really need to do, if you don't like what was programmed in it, you rewire it, you program it a different way. So you rewire the subconscious mind by visualizing, because visualizing is seeing pictures. And once you see pictures in your head, you project that picture into your external reality. So Miss Castilla in her course said that you visualize by seeing pictures, or you pretend, because the subconscious mind thinks in pictures, and it also doesn't like two opposing ideas. So you replace it with a new one, a new goal, new idea. So it likes repetition, likes novelty. So your mental rehearsal of future reality you're trying to create. So you have to train your mind to live in that state. So for you to project that picture in your head, you have to stay with it consistently for at least 4 minutes every day until it projects it to the external reality. So until it starts to feel normal and it becomes more like ingrained in you. So because the subconscious mind cannot tell what is real and what is imagined. And she said an example in the Olympians, they actually visualize before they, part of their training is visualizing their end result. And I know you've heard of celebrities as well. Jim Carrey, I think he spoke about it in one of his speeches. Like he was literally a nobody. He was a comic that wasn't successful. He was a stand-up comic, and he literally had no money. And then he visualized being one of Hollywood's top actors, and he came out of the blue too. I remember as a young kid, I was like, this guy just appeared in one movie, and boom, every movie was a Jim Carrey movie. And he started by mentally rehearsing, and I think he said for 2 years he was mentally rehearsing. And you can find that on YouTube. He was mentally rehearsing that he was the most successful and highest paid actor in the world at that time. And it was actually unheard of at that time to be paid 10 or 20 million per picture. He actually set the precedent for actors that came after him, that they were just demanding like 10 or 20 million dollars per picture. He was, if I recall, he was one of those few actors, that the first few ones that were demanding like a certain paycheck. And then for good reason, because during the height of his career, all his movies were hits, and he started as like an unknown comic, but he knew how the universe worked, and he used that to his advantage. So he was mentally rehearsing for 2 years. And then Steve Harvey too. I love him, and I think he was homeless at one point, but he was praying, he was like visualizing, he was just envisioning a better reality for himself. Because the subconscious mind, if you train it enough, it doesn't know what is real and what is imagined, and eventually it will outpicture the old picture. And then once you outpicture the old picture of your subconscious mind, it will project that into the external reality, or what we call the field of infinite potentiality. So how do we create the loop? And this is what most of us do. And as for me too, it's very hard to get out of the loop most of the time. So this is just my way of explaining things, because like, I guess it's very like, I'm one of those people, like I have to like create like diagrams in order for me to really totally get it and to teach it as well. So this is us, right? The awareness, creative intelligence. A lot of the time we are very unconscious, and our unconsciousness, it basically our beliefs about ourselves, we project it into our external reality. Let's say you were programmed since a young kid that life is hard, life is suffering, life is not good, like all bad things happen to you. So you were growing up through your experience, through dogma, through being programmed by your parents as well. Unconsciously, your beliefs about yourself and how you view reality, you unconsciously project it into reality. And how um what happens most of the time is that we are caught in this loop because we look at our external reality and see that, oh, I guess my parents were right. Life really is suffering because my external reality is showing, suffering. um what do you call that? So that when we start looking outside and seeing that, oh, life is suffering, and then the your external reality um becomes your status quo. And then when you keep on looking at the old picture, that basically you projected it and you keep looking at it, and it's like, oh, okay, people always mistreat me, people don't treat me well, that's just my reality. That becomes your cause, because at any one point in time we can create new causes. So at any one point when we decide to, we can change what we project into our external reality. But most of the time, we look at our external reality and we think that this is fixed, that there's no way around it, that this is how it's just going to be. And we keep on looking at that external picture and saying, yeah, it's right. Like, I'm suffering right now. I'll always be suffering. I'll always be broke, or, people always leave me and stuff like that. That becomes our external reality. And when we keep on looking at that, that becomes the cause. And then we just keep on producing the same effect, because it's like, okay, suffering is supposed to be the effect, right? But we keep on looking at that, what we think is a fixed reality. And the suffering then becomes the cause, because it's like, oh, I'm suffering right now. That's a cause. And then therefore, the next day, we always recreate that suffering, recreate that suffering, recreate that suffering. You're just stuck in a loop. And I always want to relate it to real life. So I became a Buddhist a few years ago, and I didn't know all of this, the field of infinite potentiality. I was just basically I became a Buddhist, and I didn't actually know that I was practicing the law of life, how the universe works. And when I was so I chant a mantra anyway. I didn't know that, like, my life was shifting, everything was shifting all the time, and I was changing, and I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, I don't understand any of this. But my life was always in a state of flow. I was always changing, always getting better, always learning. And then my life was just getting better and better. But there was a time when these were like family and friends, and then I haven't seen them for a while, and then I started, conversation with them. And it was actually very painful for me to be part of that, because I realized that literally word for word, they were repeating the same things, saying the same things, doing the same things, and being trapped in that same loop. And I'm not kidding you. It's like a broken record. It's like, I'm like, didn't they say this years and years ago? And they're still saying the same thing. And I've been gone for a while, and I came back, and they're still complaining of the same things. They're still viewing their reality as the same thing. And it was for the first time, because I started the spiritual journey for a while now. That was for the first time I saw that, oh, so people loop, like they literally loop. And it was for me very painful to watch, because I'm like, oh my God, I was one of them. I was looping as well. I was recreating the same suffering, recreating the same things to complain about, and just looping. And there was no way around it. But then when I became a Buddhist, it was like I woke up, and I woke up from that loop, and I realized, like, oh, I am creating my reality. And the external causes that I created, I don't have to be stuck with them. I don't have to recreate that loop. So that's just an example. And to some degree, we are kind of looping. And the thing about being aware is sometimes you are aware that you are looping as well, but what you call that, it takes energy, momentum, and awareness. And sometimes you have to do the inner work in order to um, jump out of that loop. And so I have instances where I'm like, oh, wasn't I doing this before? And I'm aware that I'm looping, but at the same time, I know that I still didn't have the shift yet. I didn't shift yet to the next level. That's why I was looping. But I am aware of that loop, that I'm looping. So this is how you can get stuck in that loop. And people can get stuck in that loop for years and years and years and decades. Because I remember like a coworker before, basically he said that his dad like would start businesses and would get bankrupt and stuff like that, and it was just like that for over a decade. And like he said, like, yeah, I'm not going to be like my dad, like he's always like, struggling in his business and stuff like that. So his dad was also, looping, recreating the same reality, and unfortunately most of it is unconscious unless you start waking up, which is what happened to me, probably what is happening to you too if you have found me. So this is the way I represent it, because for me, I like things simple, explain in a simple manner. So external reality, or the field of infinite possibilities, the field what we call external reality, or what we have projected externally, it's just providing us with feedback. And this took me a long time to understand this. It's just literally telling you that, okay, this is what you created. Do you like it or not? Basically, it's not going to say whether you like it or not. It's for you to decide whether you like it or not. But it's literally neutral. It's just, okay, this is your reality right now, and you're just going to live it. And then it's just a feedback. It's just providing you feedback that that's what you created, and it's really your goal. If you don't like what you see in your external reality, what you projected out there, you can actually change it, because external reality, or the field of infinite possibilities, is just telling you this is just the one possibility that you chose, and it's just feedback, and it's up to you whether you want to change it, or you want to do something better, or pick a bit different choice, or choose differently, and that this is how, like, although a lot of people teach the law of attraction, they're like, yeah, how do you get out of the loop? How do you create a better reality? So, and there's a lot of people teaching this now too. And Ms. Castillo also mentioned this, that you work on changing your let's see, you work on changing your mind, see, because we can't change the external picture, because the external picture is just feedback. It's literally just feedback. So therefore what we can change is ourselves. our brain, our subconscious mind, our consciousness. So to get out of the loop, we have to reprogram the subconscious mind or rewire the brain. And that works through repetition. You know, the affirmations really work. But there's a modified affirmation that I'm starting to use right now. There's the law of assumption, because the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or not. You already assume what you desire and assume as if you're already living your reality. And there's meditations, hypnosis, visualization, superconscious recode, and the modified affirmation. So what's a modified affirmation? Basically, it's not just mindless affirmation like I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. It's actually based on your reality right now. Let's say you live paycheck to paycheck and you're just gonna affirm, instead of saying I'm rich, you can just say, after every paycheck, I save more and more money. And that can be your new affirmation. And you repeat it as needed. Well, let's say until you out picture the old picture, you know, and you can use, what you call that? You can also use visualization along with your affirmation. So affirmations, not the mindless affirmations, but the affirmations that are actually like blocking what your current belief is. So it's like a modified affirmation. Let's say the one that you love and desire is, or if your specific person or your loved one is not prioritizing you. So instead of saying like, oh, he loves me or she loves me, just you can just say, I'm prioritized. I'm being prioritized. I'm important. I'm important. So it's like based on your life, that your creation right now. You can specify your affirmations to fit your whatever condition you're in. Okay, and I do have a course on creating the love that you desire, but it's only for people, you know, it's people that want to have and experience better relationship with their current loved one, or having issues with their loved one, or want to create a new love. And I have that course as well, but I'm digressing, and I'll put that in the show notes. So this was an example by one of the, so I'm certified in a few law of attraction courses, and I've been taking like a bunch. And one of them mentioned, like one of the teachers mentioned that it's like the field, right? A wheat field. And this is like equivalent to your neurons, let's say. So your brain is used to, so your neurons right now, the way you wired your brain is already used to that pathway of like lack, or I'm not important, or I'm victimized. I'm always, you know, those the recurring thoughts that we have, there's already a pattern. So it's like equivalent to a wheat field, like there's already a set path. But when you create a better path or a new path, like let's say in a wheat field, at first, like when you just walk on it once, the path that you created will be very faint. But if you walk on it every day, and you constantly create a new path, eventually the wheat field will just, it will create like a permanent path or a permanent pathway. And then it can be actually be visible from, you know, maybe 100, 200 feet above air and stuff. And you can see, oh, there's a pathway there, you know. But if you only do that, let's say you do the affirmation just once, you're not really rewiring your brain essentially, because you just walked on that path once and you're not really making it like a set path. It's just like, yeah. So that's why when you reprogram your subconscious mind, you really have to be clear, and you have to repeat, and you have to out picture the old picture. So that's my presentation for now. I hope it's been helpful, because I really like to explain it in a better way. So I have my store. If you want to reprogram your subconscious mind, learn to visualize, realize and actualize your dream into reality, go to my site, stand.store, Mystic Genie 88, So I'll give this out as a free ebook so you can download this. And I actually have the perfect day meditation, which is a way to reprogram your mind. You just listen to it over and over and over again until you out picture the old picture. So there's a link there as well. And if you're interested in the create the love you desire, there's also meditations there that you can use to visualize. But it's only for specific people that want to attract or create the love that they desire. So I'll put it in the link as well. And thank you very much for watching. I really enjoy teaching this because it really helps me as well, like to explain it better. And when I teach you, I also teach myself. Also, since I'm always an eternal student, I'm always curious, learning things, and I always want new ways in explaining concepts that are kind of hard to grasp, because they are kind of hard to grasp. Because I remember when I started in this journey, I was like, I had no clue. Literally, when I became a Buddhist, my life changed tremendously, and I was just like confused. I'm like, why am I changing, and how come the other people are not? And now it's starting to make sense because I created an intention and I projected new and better things. And this knowledge really helps. It helps me, it helps you. It's really empowering. And I hope that, one day you'll say, like, you know what, I found this uh, video on YouTube, or I heard this podcast, or I took this course, and this lady, named Jeannie really explained it well. And yeah, I think that's my job as a genie. I help empower you, and I help make your dreams come true, but you have to do most of the work. I'm just here to be your guide. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm just going to stop the share. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please do like, subscribe, share to your friends, and check out the show notes below for more information. And thanks for watching.